It just seems like it doesn't matter what the Eagles do. No matter what, there will always be disrespect and doubt surrounding this team. It does not matter how good they are. It does not matter what they accomplish. There's always going to be people out there that continue to disrespect and doubt the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously you can say that with just about anything. When there's someone doing something great and there's someone accomplishing something, there's always going to be people that are against them and don't believe in them. And that's just how it goes. But it seems like with the Philadelphia Eagles, disrespect and doubt are always abundant, no matter the circumstances. When it comes to this season for the Eagles, the disrespect started early. It started in the offseason, and it has continued and became an even more established theme throughout the course of not just the regular season, but now into the playoffs. But it just seems like the Eagles keep proving everybody wrong. And of course, now they will be making an appearance in the Super Bowl with a chance to go win it all and accomplish everything they've set out to do this entire season. But how did they prove everyone wrong and get to this point? We're going to talk all about that in this video, but before we do that, make sure you go subscribe for more continued Philadelphia Eagles content, consistent content over on this channel about the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you subscribe. And with that being said, let's get into the rest of the video. The Eagles have been an extremely successful team in recent memory. Ever since the year 2000, they have the most NFC championship appearances of any team in the NFC. They've been extremely successful under owner Jeffrey Lurie, and they've made the playoffs in 5 out of their past 6 seasons. So you would think for a team that does a lot of winning and has had a lot of success in recent memory, they would get the respect they deserve. You would think that with winning comes the respect and recognition from others around the league, but that is not the case for the Philadelphia Eagles. It seems like every time they do something positive, every time they're good, every time it seems like they have a chance to do something special, there's always people that are trying to discredit what the Eagles are doing. If you go back to the 2017-2018 season, when the Philadelphia Eagles were going on their first Super Bowl run in franchise history, throughout the stretch of that entire season, people were trying to discredit what the Philadelphia Eagles were doing. There was a lot to like about that Philadelphia Eagles team. They had an extremely explosive offense led by, at that time, MVP caliber quarterback Carson Wentz. And then defensively, they had the best rush defense in the entire league, and they were able to consistently take the football away from opposing offense. That team was put together extremely well, and they were pretty much the best team in football for the entire course of the regular season. A lot of people thought that the Eagles would have success in the regular season, but then ultimately they would flame out in the playoffs, because at that point the Eagles hadn't won a Super Bowl yet. And then of course the doubt was then compounded with the eventual injury to Carson Wentz, where he tore his ACL in the Week 14 win over the LA Rams. And even though Nick Foles came in and won the next 2 games for the Philadelphia Eagles, there was a lot of doubt heading into the playoffs. People had no confidence that Nick Foles could lead the Philadelphia Eagles on a magical run to Super Bowl 52. Heading into the first game versus the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs, they were underdogs. Even though the Falcons were the 6th seed, the Eagles were the 1 seed. Of course, they went out there, they won that game. Then they were underdogs to the Minnesota Vikings the following week, and they ended up freaking destroying the Vikings 38-7 in the NFC Championship game and taking a trip to Super Bowl 52. And then they were underdogs once again in the Super Bowl, and now we all know the improbable story of what happened with that Philadelphia Eagles team, where they ended up winning and giving the Philadelphia Eagles their first Super Bowl in franchise history, and it just felt like a storybook ending to a season filled with doubt and disrespect aimed at the Philadelphia Eagles. And now we can fast forward 5 years into the future to today. It is now 2023, and the disrespect is as loud as ever for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's never an end to it. It does not matter what they do. And the disrespect for this Eagles team really started a while back. It even started before this offseason, if you want to look at one particular individual, and that individual is Howie Roseman, the GM, the constructor of the Philadelphia Eagles roster. The disrespect for him was absolutely insane. Going back to 2017, he was able to construct the Philadelphia Eagles' first Super Bowl winning team in franchise history, but then after that, he made some mistakes here and there. He had some horrible draft misses, and he slowly started to lose favor with the Philadelphia Eagles fans. And I'll admit, I'll put my hand up right now, I was one of those fans. I wanted Howie Roseman fired. I really wanted him out of here, because I thought what he had done over the course of a couple of years destroyed any hopes the Eagles had of getting back to the Super Bowl anytime in the near future. And I thought that in order to be able to get back to the point of winning a Super Bowl, they were going to have to fire Howie Roseman. That was my opinion, and it was a really freaking stupid opinion, because looking back on it, I cannot believe I ever doubted him. Because when I look back on it, sure, he missed on a couple draft picks, but honestly, every GM makes mistakes, and even though these mistakes were pretty big ones, he made up for every single mistake he made. He also hit on a bunch of crucial draft picks during those periods of time where myself and other Eagles fans were starting to lose faith in him. And then last offseason, pretty much everything he did, he hit on, and he built this Eagles team that is now advancing to Super Bowl 57. No wonder he won Executive of the Year. He 100% deserved it. He's definitely the best GM in football. He might be the best GM in all of sports right now. And the disrespect to him was actually insane. But the disrespect doesn't just end with Howie Roseman. Go back to the beginning of 2021 when the Philadelphia Eagles decided to hire Nick Sirianni as their next head coach. There was a lot of people that were kind of unhappy with that hire. After his initial press conference with the team, those things only got worse. He seemed uncomfortable, he was nervous, he was stuttering, and it just was not a good first impression on Eagles fans and fans across the NFL. And ultimately, everyone kind of just thought he was a doofus and he wasn't going to be able to lead an NFL locker room. And you know, Nick Sirianni didn't do a lot to help those questions. You have when he was playing rock, paper, scissors with draft picks to help gauge their competitiveness. You have the flower speech midway through the season where he's talking about, you know, watering and fertilizing the plant every single day so it grows up from a seed to a strong, beautiful flower, and that's what they're trying to do every single day. You know, all this stuff, people were just clowning him for pretty much everything he was saying, but he pretty much shut everybody up. I mean, from that point on, when the Eagles started 2-5, Nick Sirianni has been one of the winningest head coaches in the NFL. They made the playoffs in their first season under him. That freaking flower speech was probably the turning point in that season for them. Ultimately, that was an incredibly successful first season for Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles, who were expected to be in a rebuild mode. And then this season, obviously, he's led the Philadelphia Eagles to the best record in the NFL at 14-3, the #1 seed in the NFC, the NFC's division title. Now Nick Sirianni has managed to lead the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl, and he still got snubbed from Coach of the Year consideration. He wasn't even in the top 3 candidates. Nick Sirianni has came out here, he's proved everyone wrong. He built a winning culture in that Eagles locker room. He has those guys completely bought in. They play for one another. They love playing with each other, and they love playing for him. Everybody loves Coach Sirianni in Philadelphia. He embodies the spirit of Philadelphia. You can see in the games with his antics, you know, nodding his head and hyping up the crowd and looking like he's about to go get into fights with opposing players. I just love everything Nick Sirianni has brought to Philadelphia, and he is the perfect coach. He is the absolute perfect coach for this Philadelphia Eagles team, and he's now led the Eagles to the Super Bowl, and yet people still doubt Nick Sirianni, and he's proved everybody wrong. And that's not where the disrespect ends for the Philadelphia Eagles. It keeps going. Because now we get to the face of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise at this point, which is Jalen Hurts. Back in 2020, when Jalen Hurts was drafted, nobody, absolutely nobody liked that pick. I will raise my hand. I absolutely despised that pick. The Philadelphia Eagles had Carson Wentz at the time under a huge contract. He was supposed to be the franchise quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. No one thought that picking a quarterback in the second round was a good decision. And there was a select group of people that did have faith in Jalen Hurts and were a day one Jalen Hurts supporter. So congrats to you, because most of us, I'm going to be the voice here. I think it's safe to say most Eagles fans were not happy with that pick. And then, of course, you know, the whole 2020 season happened. Carson Wentz had the worst season of his career, led the league in interceptions. Jalen Hurts comes in, and slowly you start to see the potential that Jalen Hurts had. And, of course, the Eagles, you know, they end up finishing the season 4-11-1. And you kind of just expect them to go into that next season with Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback in a complete rebuild mode with no hopes of winning. But he came out in the 2021 season. He played just about as well as anybody could have hoped he would play. He led the Philadelphia Eagles to a playoff berth, but in the playoffs, ultimately he was quote-unquote exposed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. He threw 2 interceptions. It was just not a good look. So heading into the 2022 NFL offseason, people still doubted the Philadelphia Eagles for the main reason that Jalen Hurts was the quarterback. He was the huge question mark coming into this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts came into this season so much improved from last season. He developed his ability to throw the ball from the pocket. He's now one of the better pocket passers in the NFL. Of course, he's still able to make plays with his legs. He's able to throw the ball downfield very accurately now. He's able to throw across the middle of the field, which is another criticism of his game in years prior. He's able to read the defense better, and the Eagles coaching staff ultimately did a very good job of constructing an offense around him where he can run the RPO to perfection. He spearheads one of the best rushing offenses in the entire league, and one of the most explosive offenses in the league in terms of putting up points. And Jalen Hurts played at an MVP caliber level this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously now he's led them to the Super Bowl. Nobody expected that. Everyone was doubting Jalen Hurts specifically. He freaking came out here and went 16-1 in games that he started this season. That is unheard of. That's the most wins by an Eagles quarterback ever. He has the most rushing touchdowns in a single season, regular season and postseason included, of any quarterback in NFL history with 15. He has absolutely played incredible this season. He's led the Eagles to the freaking Super Bowl. What more can you ask from the guy? How can you still doubt this man after everything? And so far this entire video, I've literally just been talking about 3 people. I haven't even talked about the entirety of this Philadelphia Eagles team and the disrespect they've received this entire season. Of course, the Eagles came out of the gates quick. They started the season 8-0, which was the best start in Philadelphia Eagles franchise history. But all I heard that entire portion of the season up to the 8-0 stretch, the Eagles are frauds. They haven't played anybody. And when they play a good team, they're going to get exposed. Number one, during that stretch, we beat the Vikings and Cowboys, both playoff teams, but that's okay. Whatever, you say whatever you want. And then the Eagles went on to lose to the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football to take their first loss of the season, and it was absolutely insane. All I heard was, the Commanders exposed the Eagles. The Eagles are freaking frauds. That's all I heard. I heard the Eagles are overrated. Right after one loss. Everyone went crazy. But then, of course, the Eagles responded. They had a 5-game win streak. They were freaking cooking teams during that stretch. They dominated the Packers. They dominated the Titans. They dominated the Giants. They beat the Bears. And then Jalen Hurts goes down with a shoulder injury, you know. But then you have this end-of-season stretch here where Jalen Hurts ultimately then had to leave, and he missed 2 games at the end of the season versus the Cowboys and the Saints, and they dropped both of them. And after that stretch, all I heard was, the Eagles are frauds. That's all I heard. Literally, that statement, we couldn't escape that. We couldn't escape that all season. That's all anybody has said all season. So people were doubting the Eagles heading into the playoffs. They ended up having to face the New York Giants in the divisional round. And going into that game, the Giants were extremely hot. You know, the Eagles had struggled versus the Giants in week 18. There was a lot of people picking the Giants to beat the Eagles. So what do the Eagles do? They come into Philadelphia on a Saturday night in the divisional round, and they freaking put the whooping on the Giants. 38-7. They killed them. They destroyed them in all facets of the game. They freaking pounded the rock on the ground. They had an incredibly effective rushing attack during that game. They freaking dominated the Giants offense. They suffocated Daniel Jones. They did everything they were supposed to do, and they closed out a team. They freaking dominated a team that they should have dominated. And yet, after the Eagles actually beat the Giants, guess what? Guess what happened? The Eagles haven't played anybody yet. It was only the Giants. You only beat the Giants. That's it. Huh? Weren't you guys saying that the Giants were going to come in here and beat the Eagles? Weren't the Giants extremely hot? The Giants beat the Vikings the previous week. No, you just beat the Giants. Okay, well, guess what? We're going into this game versus the San Francisco 49ers now in the NFC Championship with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Heading into this week, all I heard was, #1 defense in the league. #1 defense in the league going to shut down your offense. That 49ers offense is extremely talented, and Brock Purdy's coming. Brocky Balboa? Putting 49ers t-shirts on the Rocky statue. I made my fair share of content both on YouTube and on TikTok heading into this game. A lot of people told me that the 49ers were about to expose the Philadelphia Eagles. We come into this game. We dominate the San Francisco 49ers. We destroy the San Francisco 49ers. That #1 defense you were talking about, we ran all over that defense. We pounded the rock. 44 rushing attempts, even though we didn't have an extremely high yards per carry, 3.5 yards per carry, we were able to consistently move the ball. We just freaking imposed our will on that 49ers defense. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles have been doing all season, and that's what they did in this game. They didn't even have to throw it that much because they were able to get a lead and then hold on to it. And, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about the other side of the ball in a minute, but the San Francisco 49ers offense wasn't able to get much going, so we didn't throw the ball much in this game because we didn't have to. Jalen Hurts played smart football. He didn't turn the ball over. The coaching staff made the correct decisions, and we were able to still move the ball up and down the field consistently on the ground and score points, put up 31 points in this game versus the 49ers. And then, of course, the defense was able to dominate the 49ers, who Brock Purdy got injured early in this game, and Josh Johnson came in, and from that point, they weren't really able to accomplish much on offense. The defense was all over the 49ers offense, not allowing anything, right? So we destroyed the 49ers. We advanced to Super Bowl 57. I was extremely happy. You can check out my reaction. It's on my channel if you want to look at that. But guess what? Did the Eagles finally get their respect? No, of course they don't. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll never get their respect. It doesn't matter. They won the NFC Championship game. They're going to the Super Bowl. But no, there's excuses. Excuses about this game. They keep coming. And there's two main ones. Number one, well, if Brock Purdy played the rest of the game, the 49ers probably go on to win. No. Do you actually believe that? Because there's 49ers fans that were telling me that, oh, well, Brock Purdy got injured. This was the first offensive series of the game for the 49ers, and Haason Reddick came around, gets the strip sack on Brock Purdy and creates a turnover, and then he obviously goes out with the injury. But let's just say that he comes back in right after that. Next series, he's back in. Do you not think the Eagles defense would be able to still get consistent pressure on Brock Purdy? They did it on the first possession of the game. They did it for Josh Johnson for the rest of the entire game. I'm pretty sure the Eagles defense would still be able to have success getting to Brock Purdy. They'd be able to force him into some bad decisions. He'd be running for his life all day long. I think when you look at it that way, you start to understand the Philadelphia Eagles were just the better team. They're just the better team than the San Francisco 49ers. Even if Brock Purdy stayed in the game, more than likely the Eagles still would have won. They put up 31 points in the #1 defense in the league, and that defense was getting pressure all day long. And whether Brock Purdy was in there or not, that's not going to change the fact that the Eagles defense would still be able to have success regardless. They did have success. They held your offense to 7 points. Doesn't matter if Brock Purdy was in there or not. And then the other stupid argument is the ref thing. 49ers versus refs. I would like you to tell me a play that you think that the referees called that wasn't actually a penalty. Because from all the things I saw, like the face mask on Boston Scott and the illegal hands to the face and, you know, grabbing and holding receivers coming out of breaks and, you know, running, like freaking roughing the kicker, what wasn't a penalty? Because ultimately you say it was refs versus 49ers and the refs helped the Eagles, blah, 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 blah. I think the 49ers helped the Eagles because they're the ones committing the stupid penalties. It's not the referee's fault. They're just doing what they're supposed to do, calling penalties when they occur, and the 49ers continuously committed stupid penalties throughout the entire game. So that's a dumb argument. That's a dumb argument. I don't want to hear any of it. But yeah, basically the Eagles have now won the NFC Championship game. They've dominated in both their playoff games. They dominated pretty much every team they played throughout the course of the regular season, aside from a couple of losses. And now they're going to Super Bowl 57 with a chance to play the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. And this is where every fan wants their team to be at the end of the season, playing in the Super Bowl with a chance to be Super Bowl champions. And yet the Philadelphia Eagles still, aside from Eagles fans and a couple people around the league, I'm sure there are plenty of NFL fans that realize the Philadelphia Eagles are a good team. The disrespect never stops. There's still people in my comments saying, oh, Mahomes, Daddy Mahomes is going to kill us. We're going to get cooked by the Chiefs. We're going to get exposed next week. Or in a couple weeks in the Super Bowl. Like, what are you talking about? The disrespect will never end with the Philadelphia Eagles. The doubt will never stop. But you know what? No one likes us, and we don't care. The Eagles are going to have to prove everybody wrong one last time in Super Bowl 57. And hopefully if they do end up winning that game, people will finally shut up and give the Philadelphia Eagles their respect they deserve. So then the question arises, what do I think about the Philadelphia Eagles versus Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl 57 matchup? Well, we're going to talk about that plenty in future videos. So if you don't want to miss those videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content, and so you don't miss those videos coming up. I got a lot of stuff coming in the next couple weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. You can go watch one of these videos right here. I'll have something up on the screen. You should go watch this video covering the Philadelphia Eagles right here, and drop a like down on this video to help push it out to other people. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.